So I'm starting a new series where I take a sample or an idea and flip it and break it down for you guys. So here's what we're working with in the first episode.
Anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. I need anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. But you.
So nowadays, samples are super easy to access and use in your music. And in order to make your own sound while still using the resources out there, you can think of samples as inspiration rather than something you just drag and drop into your project. So you can just edit your sample and use it, or in this case, you can take what you like from the sample and make it your own sound. So obviously how you use a sample is very subjective and there's a million different ways to do it, but here's just one technique that I use. So starting off, I like some parts of the sample, but I want to change it to make it my own. So I changed the timing of the sample as well as the pitch of one of the chords. So now we can hear what we have all together. So what we can do now with the sample is take what I like, which is the chords, and develop them into my own sound and riff off of them. So this is a great way to develop your own style while still keeping true to what you like from the original sample. So here I'm getting Ableton to transpose the chords. You can also do this in Melodyne. So here I'm cleaning those chords up as well as adding a little strum to the chords and adding a rhythm that I like. So here you can see that fundamentally the chords are the same from the sample to your new MIDI. And one thing useful with that is that you can use the MIDI to develop all your other instruments while knowing that they'll still fit melodically with the original sample. With the chords, I loaded in an operator synth, and it's just a simple saw wave with some OTT on it, RC20, a reverb, sidechain, and some EQing, as well as a delay to create a stereo image. So here's how it sounds. To add more depth, I have another operator synth with a sine wave this time, with vastly the same effects. I also add some notes here and there in the saw wave and the sine wave that are different to create some variation within the tune. And here's how they sound together. To fill up the space in between the chords, I added some keys from Omnisphere that just have the same chords but extended. And finally, I have a flute lead that I added over top of it to act as some variation throughout the track. So here's what we've made just purely based off the sample. So personally, developing drums on top of melodics rather than vice versa is always dependent on inspiration for me. One of my inspirations for the track today was Jordan Allman, who produced Feel No Ways by Drake and is part of Majid Jordan. So let's take a look at the drums we have. So the drums here are pretty standard. As covered in my last video, I have the claps that are actually before the beat, as well as the hi-hats that are after. One thing I like to do with my open hats is to set the sidechain to hit every time an open hat hits. And of course, I supplement it with a bunch of different effects and fills to add some variety. So now is where you can make some more personal choices and get creative. So on a track like this, I always like to add supplementing vocals, and a great way to do this is using Arcade by Output.
Anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. I need anybody else but you. Anybody.
And to add variety throughout the track with my vocals, I used Little Alter Boy to format shift and change the timbre of the voice.
I don't want anybody else but you.
With a track that is very heavily melodic, I like to create melodic fills to complement it. And finally, I use 2 different types of bass sounds. So this bass follows the bass note in all of the chords along with some accents. So that's it for the breakdown. Let me know what you think of the series, or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments.
Anybody else but you. Anybody else but you. Anybody